fed up with the journalists going on and on about how bad his car is, but being critical with his car is what he's been doing his whole career. For a second there, it looked as if the race in Catalonia was going to be a boring one, but a few surprises were waiting for us at the end. So, without further ado, let's get right into my driver ratings for this Spanish Grand Prix. Let's go! After 42 races, Lance Stroll managed to outqualify his teammate Fernando Alonso, so he wasn't starting last, it was second to last. Since the Aston Martins didn't have enough pace to even catch the Cadillacs during qualifying once again, could only do 5 laps until problems with his gearbox arose, forcing him to just drive back into the pits. A 7th for him. After an awful weekend around Monaco, Valtteri Bottas was competitive once again in qualifying against Sergio Pérez. Was it in part because the Mexican gave his car so Colton Herta could participate in Free Practice 1 and get his first super license point of the season? Maybe. On lap 16, they retired his car, a precautionary retirement due to overheating. A 6. Nico Hülkenberg was giving us one of his classic best of the rest performances, and I was looking forward to seeing how that fight against Liam Lawson played out, but in one of the most surreal accidents in recent times, gravel from Lawson's car hit the electrical kill switch button and he retired. Something similar happened to Mick Schumacher in Austria 2020 in Formula 2. A rock hit the fire extinguisher button. Germany's worst enemy? Rocks. If only the rest of the world would have known that back in the day. An 8 for Nico Hülkenberg. Fernando Alonso was clearly fed up with all the journalists going on and on with questions about how bad his car is, but being critical with the cars, it's what he's been doing his whole career, so the comment and questions about new upgrades seem pretty fair, given the circumstances. In what it might be his last Grand Prix in the Catalan circuit, he probably had his worst weekend. The battery just gave out, and it was a new battery. I'll give him a 6, I guess, but rating his weekend is pretty hard. Remember what happened to Hülkenberg? Well, it might not be the strangest thing that happened this race. There's still 3 DNF to come, but Albon finished 18th still. His T-cam came loose and he stopped to repair it, losing 11 laps to the rest. But then, he just came out and kept on driving, basically turning what was left into Free Practice 4. He was 6 tenths slower than Sainz in qualifying and was nowhere even before the T-cam problem. I do like him as a person and it feels bad beating on someone who had such horrendous luck, but he gets a 4. Oliver Bearman seems to not be able to catch a break. When he does a decent Grand Prix, his car just gives on him with 5 laps to go. He ran out of power and had to enter the pit lane to retire the car. The Haas at least looked decent and capable of fighting with the other midfield teams during the first few races, but now it seems like a gap is forming in the midfield and they're not on the right side of it. That's right, your eyes ain't deceiving you. Kimi Antonelli, the championship leader, had to retire the car with just a few laps to go. He didn't have the best qualifying, 3 tenths of pole, allowing even Hamilton to split the Mercedes. The race, however, was a completely different story. With a slight tire advantage during the second stint, he caught up to his teammate, and during the third one, he showed he was the fastest Mercedes during the race by getting past him. His luck in the championship has run out and he had to retire, as I've mentioned. His qualifying wasn't the best, but if you're capable of making the positions back during the race, does it even matter that much? So I'll give him an 8.5. He basically had a guaranteed second place. It didn't look as if Russell had any way of replying to his overtake. Charles Leclerc is just unlocking new layers of his own personal hell. He beat it during his first run in qualifying, which forced him to start from P10. And unlike Monaco, there was really no excuse or need for him to risk that much, especially during his first attempt in Q3. During the whole weekend, up until that moment, he looked like the fastest Ferrari, back to being his normal self. But he ruined everything by crashing. He had a great start to the race, overtaking 3 cars, and was doing pretty well. It looked as if he was gaining confidence with each lap, made an incredible overtake around the outside of turn 3 to Piastri, and the question on everyone's mind was, what if he didn't crash during Q2? The answer to that question is the disappointment would have been even bigger, because due to a hydraulic failure, he had to retire. I'm gonna give him a 4. He should have been fighting at the top, to be honest. And finally, we get to the drivers who actually finished the race. Lately, this list of DNF is just so damn long. But for Cadillac to score points in a regular circuit, it might need to be even longer. Sergio Pérez just had another standard race for Cadillac. I feel like depending on the circuit and their progress with the updates, they are sometimes closer to the midfield. Wasn't really the case today. He gets a 7. Esteban Ocon got knocked out in Q1, while Bearman did manage to get into Q2 with a lap 5/10 faster than the Frenchman. During the race, he wasn't capable of challenging the cars in front and just took the positions of the cars who retired. While Lawson is fighting tooth and nails for his seat in Formula 1, it almost seems as if Esteban Ocon just doesn't really care that much anymore. He gets a 4. The other Spaniard on the grid, Carlos Sainz, was the faster Williams during the whole weekend, not as if that amounts to much. The Williams is just all over the place. In some circuits like Canada or Monaco, they look capable of fighting at the front of the midfield at times, but in Barcelona, they were nowhere near. In my opinion, they have one of the strongest driver lineups, so when at least one of them doesn't manage to do well, it's more likely than not due to the car. A 7 for him. Gabriel Bortoleto ended up on the verge of getting a point for Audi, but he was undoubtedly behind his much more experienced teammate. Without a bad start that saw him lose 5 positions, he might have managed to get into the points, but with a start like that, he set himself up for failure. I thought this would have been the year he shows the world what he's capable of, and just takes command of Audi by beating Hülkenberg convincingly. For now, he's either not as good as it seemed when he won the Formula 3 and Formula 2 as a rookie, or Nico Hülkenberg can still tango. He gets a 5 today. Franco Colapinto crossed the line 8, but was demoted to P10 due to a yellow flag infringement. I don't know exactly who's been handing out these penalties because it seems strange to me, so I'm not gonna take it that much into account. He'd qualify in front of his teammate, but during the second team, he was ordered to let Gasly pass. To be honest, it seemed like Gasly was the Alpine with the fastest race pace, because he did open up a bit of a margin. I'm giving the Argentinian an 8. Arvid Lindblad was once again beaten by his teammate in qualifying, this time due to issues with his car. He's obviously still in the process of adaptation to Formula 1. Red Bull kinda rushed him through the junior categories, but he showed some good pace today. His Grand Prix overall was pretty decent, considering Racing Bulls tried some interesting strategies with both their drivers. He had a first stint of 22 laps and both Alpines got the jump on him, but he ended up the race close enough to take advantage of the penalty to Colapinto, 7.5. Since I gave a good rating to Lawson last time, I know a lot of New Zealanders found that video, and if you're here again, just saying, you could subscribe. The Kiwi had another really strong performance around Barcelona. Best qualifier apart from the top 4 teams, and during the race he pulled off the best defensive maneuver of all time against Hülkenberg, hitting the kill switch of his car with some gravel. If he could put that off every time he needs to defend, he will be impossible to overtake. On a more serious tone, Racing Bulls kinda screwed him with the strategy, and this time he wasn't capable of bailing his team off like in Canada. He got both undercutted and overcutted by the Alpines since the safety car didn't play into his hands. Still, one of the standout drivers of the day. From the 3 positions he could have lost against Gasly, Colapinto and Hülkenberg, he managed to only lose 1 somehow. So he gets an 8.5. Both Alpines were really close to each other in qualifying. Pierre Gasly started just behind his teammate, but both of them admitted the car fell kinda off during it. In the race, their strategy and their pace allowed both of them to jump the Racing Bulls, which had a worse strategy in comparison, and as I've said, Gasly got past Colapinto due to a team order, but I will say he proved that was the right choice, so hats off to him. Isack Hadjar could have fought with Oscar Piastri and his teammate Max Verstappen after being really close to him once again during qualifying, but the French had a dreadful start and his whole race could be summed up in trying to get back the lost places, which he did, except for the Piastri one. He gets a 5. It's not lower because he gave us some really cool moments overtaking round the outside of turn 3. Oscar Piastri was really close to Norris in qualifying. From Kimi in P3 to Oscar in P7, they were all within a tenth around the Barcelona-Catalonia circuit. But during the race, he just didn't show the same pace as the rest, and most importantly, his teammate. He ended up almost 20 seconds behind Verstappen. I'm giving him A6. Speaking about the four-time world champion, Max Verstappen couldn't get into the podium. It looked like he was even going to lose pole position to Leclerc, but the safety car benefited the Dutch driver and the retirement sentenced the Monegasque completely. The Red Bull just didn't have the pace needed to challenge for the podium. The only reason he is even this close is due to retirements of Antonelli and Leclerc. That's not Verstappen's fault though, an 8.5 for him. Lando Norris is back on the podium after a solid weekend where overall he was the fastest McLaren, and during the race we could certify it. He crossed the line about 35 seconds ahead of Piastri and was a threat to the Mercedes drivers, trying to undercut both of them in the second stint, which forced them to stop. I don't think they would have stayed out long enough anyways to catch the safety car, but it does show just how close Norris was to them. I'll give him a 9. I think we can say George Russell is back after that tough Monaco Grand Prix. He was the fastest in qualifying by some margin. He had a good getaway to keep first position, however, during his second stint, his pace just dropped. The tire difference with his teammate wasn't that much, but Antonelli caught up to him, and after the second stop, the Italian overtook him on track. Pace-wise, Russell wasn't the fastest, but it was turn for Antonelli's car to break down, so he manages to shorten the distance in the standings by 18 points. In circuits where overtaking is more difficult, he might get away with being slower than his teammate during the race, but out-qualifying him. Today, he gets an 8. Solid weekend overall, I'd say. And at the top of this full English podium, we've got Lewis Hamilton. He remembered who he was. Despite seeming a bit slower than Leclerc up until Q3, he didn't put his Ferrari on the wall, which allowed him to qualify second, keep that place after the start, and just be really close to the Mercedes at all times. It was a race in the distance, since Lewis Hamilton had a different strategy, which turned out to be the correct one, when luckily for him, the virtual safety car came out before he made his final stop. He was lucky, that much is true, but to be lucky, he had to fight and complete a solid weekend. That's why he was in the perfect positions to benefit from that luck. His qualifying, race start, and race pace were superb, and the safety car was just the cherry on top he needed to take the win around Catalonia. A 9.5 for him. After a lifetime racing in silver, it's none other than Lewis Hamilton, the one to put an end to the Mercedes dominance during this 2026 season. With Antonelli's luck running out and his two closest competitors ending up as first and second, it seems like the championship battle is alive. So see you all in 2 weeks' time around Austria. That's all for today. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below, and you can also follow me on my social media. Until next time.